Welcome, everyone. We're just going to wait a few moments as people join us, and we'll get started shortly.
Can they see my video now?
Just a couple more minutes as people are joining us. We'll get started in just a moment. All right, it looks like we have our group today. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, members of the media, distinguished guests, and our AU family. The ongoing coronavirus pandemic has made a global impact. The virus has caused economic damage and shaken our daily lives. It's shut down schools and businesses and caused numerous events to be canceled, including Anderson University's face-to-face instruction for the latter part of our spring semester. Over the last few months, the university has been carefully and thoughtfully developing a plan for our faculty, staff, and students to safely return to campus amidst the pandemic. A partnership with Daon, a global leader in identity management, software, and biometrics, has been reached that allows AU to be a leader in higher ed and to address the healthcare screening solution. Today, our speakers will share how this initiative will help us safely reopening our residential campus this fall. John Pistol has served as president of Anderson University since March of 2015. President Pistol is an alum of Anderson University and the Indiana University McKinney School of Law. After practicing law for 2 years, he began his career with the FBI in 1983. He served in Minneapolis, New York, FBI headquarters, Indianapolis, Boston, and after the attacks of September 11th, 2001, as head of the Counterterrorism Division, and then head of National Security. In 2004, he was named Deputy Director of the FBI, where he served for 5.5 years. In 2010, he was appointed by the President and confirmed by the Senate as the Administrator of the Transportation Security Administration, where he served for 4.5 years, retiring in December of 2014. Thomas A. Grisson is Daon's Chief Executive Officer and a member of Daon's Board of Directors. He oversees all strategic and operational aspects of the business worldwide and is based in Daon's Fairfax, Virginia office. His career spans publicly traded Fortune 100 technology companies to early stage pure play software companies. He holds a degree in business administration from Central Michigan University and an executive MBA from the Eli Broad School of Business at Michigan State University. He's recognized in the biometrics and identity industry as a thought leader, regularly called upon by the media to discuss how biometrics establish trust online, significantly enhancing security while improving the user experience. He was identified by Forbes as one of 5 CEOs who are reinventing the industry through digital. And he has appeared on national television programs such as CNBC's Squawk Box. As we begin our press conference, please note you may post any questions you have in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. At the end of the presentation, I will share these questions for the presenters to answer live. At this time, I'd like to turn the floor over to President of Anderson University, John Pistol.
Well, thank you, Heather. And again, let me bring my welcome and greetings to all of you who are joining us today. Thank you for taking the time as we make this exciting announcement about how we can deal with some of the challenges and the opportunities that we have in front of us dealing in this time of global pandemic. And I also want to welcome, even though she will not be a panelist or be part of this question and answer, the Dean of the Penn State Dickinson School of Law, Danielle Conway. Dean Conway is representing Governor Tom Ridge, the former governor of Pennsylvania, the first Homeland Security advisor, and the first Secretary of Homeland Security, who has been a long-term board member of Daon, and who I had the privilege of working with as we were briefing President Bush in the Oval Office in times of crisis following 9/11. And then moving forward as then he transitioned and became a trusted advisor, not only to people like me who could call on him for advice, but then in the private sector also. And I'm very pleased to be joined by Tom Grissom, the CEO, as Heather mentioned, of Daon, and for the opportunity to have a strategic partnership with Daon as we focus on opportunities that can present the safest possible campus from the perspective of knowing who we are welcoming and what, frankly, what their health status is. So let me just give you a brief background on Anderson University. We were founded in 1917 in Anderson, Indiana, just 35 miles northeast of Indianapolis. We are a traditional Christian liberal arts institution that has gone through a number of iterations over the years, and most recently transitioned from, in addition to having the traditional liberal arts, to innovative new majors such as cybersecurity and national security, which in my background, we've had a series of distinguished lecturers of national renown come to campus and meet with students and mentor students, and then meet with faculty and staff, and then others that we would invite into campus. And so we are doing that. We have the #1 nursing school in the state of Indiana for the second year in a row. So we're very proud of that, especially in this time of health crisis, and how we can help in producing quality healthcare professionals who can make a difference in a hurting world. We also have an outstanding business school, and we have added 3 engineering programs in the last several years, and a traditional education program, and then a seminary, a graduate school for, we call it School of Theology and Christian Ministry, in addition to, again, our traditional undergraduate degrees and graduate degrees. And so that's a little bit about Anderson University. What I am excited about today in announcing with Tom is a strategic partnership with Daon to look at ways that we can use information that people volunteer, and when I say people, I talked about faculty, staff, and students who have all obviously been out dispersed over the summertime. We, just like every other nearly 4,000 schools in the country, ceased in-person operations in mid-March with the outbreak of the pandemic here in the U.S. And so we transitioned to e-learning. And what we heard from our students and faculty and staff is they greatly miss that traditional on-campus experience where we believe we add great value in terms of relationships and the ability to connect with one another. And so we're looking forward to working with Daon in a pilot program that is the first in the country for universities, colleges, universities, that we can take information that, again, is provided voluntarily and do basically a daily assessment of, is it okay for this person to enter this building, this classroom, this wellness center, this event, whatever it may be, because it is our plan to reopen as a residential campus in August. And so we're continuing that. And what we believe is that this strategic partnership and relationship with Daon will enable us to do just that. And so with that as a background, I'd like to turn it over to Tom and ask him to make some comments about Daon and what they do. They had an exciting announcement yesterday that we can tell you about, and then how we can look at this partnership in a way that can be hopefully transformational in not only how Anderson University in Anderson, Indiana deals with things, but how other schools, universities, businesses can really help deal and navigate some of the uncertainties of this global pandemic. So Tom, turn it over to you, and welcome.
Thank you, sir. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be part of this webinar and partner to Anderson University. Just by way of background, all the people who have joined in on this call, and to share a little bit of our heritage. We are an innovator in biometric authentication and identity management systems. We use human factors, which are commonly referred to as biometrics. It could be your face or your voice, to establish trust between two parties and to make sure that the legitimate account holder is taking actions as opposed to an imposter. So you may not be familiar with Daon's brand, but you certainly would be familiar with iconic customers that turn to Daon technology. There are companies worldwide and institutions and organizations that operate around the globe. I would be certain that many people on this call are using our technologies to protect their life savings, their bank accounts, and other transactions of consequence that are part of their daily lives. We're very proud to be a partner with Anderson University on this initiative and look forward to helping you create a healthier and safer campus for all the students, faculty, and staff.
Well, thank you, Tom. And before we open it up for questions, one logical question that I would anticipate is, so how did Daon, this global leader, get connected with Anderson University? And it really comes down to relationships. And I was very fortunate when I worked at TSA from 2010 to the end of 2014. To work with some talented individuals, and one of whom is John Sanders, who is now working at Daon, and he's their president for emerging markets. And just to, I could go on and on about John and just what a quality person he is, but he graciously last year agreed to serve on the board of trustees here at Anderson University, and we have maintained our friendship over the years. And he approached me about a month ago or so about this potential and about doing some type of strategic partnership. And so we've been following up on that. And Tom, I don't know if it'd be appropriate for you to mention your press release from yesterday with another entity outside of higher ed, but and if not, we'll just go on to questions. So.
No, thank you, sir. It is directly relevant to what we're trying to do together at Anderson University. Other industries have very successfully used these same technologies that we will bring and make available as a tool to Anderson University. One of the most recent is Denver International Airport. It's the 5th largest airport in the United States and the 16th busiest airport in the world. And they, like you, are laser focused on trying to create a safe and healthy environment for their travelers. And so Denver and Daon entered into a strategic partnerships to provide means for individuals, in this case travelers or workers, to be able to use biometric technologies and health credentials to create a safer environment. So there's less waiting in lines, fewer things to touch, and more expedited, comfortable, reassuring movement through their travel journey. So we're really excited about that. And I think the things that we do in both settings, a large airport and a forward-leaning university, will benefit others. And our goal at Denver is to really reshape travel and to change that experience into one people feel comfortable with.
Yeah, that's great, Tom. And just one other connection among John Sanders and myself is the Chief Operating Officer at Denver International, Chris McLaughlin, who also worked at TSA in the 2010 to 14 timeframe, and was one of the innovators along with John Sanders in terms of introducing and then implementing what many of you know is TSA PreCheck, which was a way of differentiating between high risk and low risk passengers based on information they would voluntarily share with TSA. So a risk assessment could be done, and then a risk decision could be made. So those who were deemed and assessed as being lower risk could be expedited through the screening process and the boarding process. And those obviously who were of higher risk would go through standard or even additional screening protocols. And so there's that connection also. And so Tom, again, thank you for your leaning forward, for your investing time and energy in this the strategic partnership. And we look forward to how we can roll this out and make it available as students start returning to campus in August, just 2 short months away. So with that, Heather, I think we'll open it up to questions. And if you have any there that you can direct to me or to Tom, we'll take them from there.
Terrific. And as a reminder to everyone that is on the call, feel free to use the Q&A button in the bottom of your screen to present any questions. President Pistol, our first question, what does the health screening process look like? Maybe that's one for Tom, but what does that process actually look like?
Well, yeah, and just to clarify, it's really a voluntary questionnaire as opposed to, let's say, a full-blown COVID-19 nasal swab test. And so there's an element of trust that is involved. With Trust But Verify, we will actually have temperature gauge, basically the thermometers that can be done with the forehead at entry points, but it's a self-disclosure every day of your current health situation. And assuming, just as many businesses now have on their front doors, if you are exhibiting any of these symptoms, please call or let us know, because we, frankly, we just need to assess whether it's good for you to be here or not. And so it's really a health questionnaire that we can then use tied into their smartphone, or even the student ID that all students, of course, on colleges, universities have, and embed that information there. And so it's just a simple questionnaire that says, yeah, how am I feeling today? And then with that verification, at least of temperature. So for those who are asymptomatic, obviously it's not going to pick that up, but it's a question of how can we at least mitigate risk by that self-disclosure, and then working as a community in terms of a campus community, recognizing that we all want to be in a healthy environment. So Tom, I don't know if you would add something to that?
Sure, President Pistol, thank you. The use of the technology has been very successful around the world in other industries. And it's as simple as Anderson University sending out an email to students, faculty, or staff, inviting them to download the Daon app to their mobile device. And then which the individual would use a camera on their mobile device to scan, and at the same time they would take a selfie, and then that would be verified, and then we would send the Anderson University health questionnaire to them to see if they're experiencing any symptoms that would be associated with COVID-19. The individual would fill that out. They would submit that back to us, and then we would give the individual back and send to their mobile device a wellness credential. And then they could use that wellness credential to enter a building or the dining hall or whatever the rules and policies that Anderson University sets up. So it's very simple. The wellness credential could be displayed on their smartphone, or it could be read by a QR reader. It's very fast, easy, and efficient, and it's always under the control of the individual. Daon does not store any health data. What we really do is act as a notary public. We receive the message from the student, we confirm it, and then send them back a wellness credential that they can use that day.
I think you answered the question, but there was another question very similar. I'm going to make sure we get that taken care of. The question is, where is the information hosted? Is it in the cloud, and is it HIPAA compliant?
Yep. Heather, may I answer that question? Yep. So the data is stored in the cloud, like it is for most of our financial services customers worldwide. Would be HIPAA compliant. We will conform with any rules and regulations associated with HIPAA and security standards. We're accustomed to the very exacting standards that our customers around the world expect. And we store minimal data, and we use the concept privacy by design. So there's very little information that we retain. We really facilitate the transactions between the individual and the health credential.
Thank you. I have another question here. How will the app help with contact tracing after someone has tested positive for the virus?
Yeah, so our app won't be involved in contact tracing. So that would occur through a different tool that Anderson may choose to use, but it would not be part of what Daon is doing.
Right, and we are working through the protocols that if somebody, for example, either self-discloses or we determine that they have a high temperature, that not only would they not be able to access that classroom or that wellness center or whatever it may be, that they would actually then be referred to our health center, and that they would go through a series of basically preliminary health questionnaire in person with the health professionals. And if they exhibited a number of symptoms, we have an apartment complex near campus, just off campus, that we could actually house them. If they needed to be quarantined, they could. And because of our e-learning initiatives from the spring and in the past, virtually all of our summer school classes have been done online, so e-learning. So they could actually receive medical care if necessary, and of course have all meals provided and things like that to them in this apartment complex, which is empty right now. We've cleared it out and cleaned it just for this potential use. And then they could continue with their classes online until there was an assessment made by our healthcare professionals that they were cleared to re-enter the classroom and other locations. So that's the plan we have right now, and we're still working out some of the details, but that's that's the intention right now.
Thank you. I have another question. How often are stakeholders being asked to do this screening, and how are you enforcing this across campus?
Yeah, so at the outset, we'll ask everybody to do it on a daily basis. So in the morning before they enter any of the public spaces, meaning classrooms or, again, wellness center, the cafeteria, the coffee shop, things like that, because there will be a station there that they will need to confirm that they are clear. I mean, they have a green go light there, so they're ready to go. So we would start off, because they've been away over the summer, we want to make sure we start off with a clean bill of health as best we can. And so it would be done on a daily basis, and plan to do that throughout the semester. It's again short, half dozen questions, just bum, 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 bum. And if there's one thing we know, about college-age students, they're very adept with apps. And so because of Daon's great expertise and background and experience, we know it's very user-friendly. And so that's the plan starting off, and then we'll see if we need to modify moving on.
Yes, so another question here, sir. Will measures be taken to boost the internet signal so that students in the dorms or apartments make sure they have the best internet access, and also keep it in their classrooms?
Well, yes, I mean, we need to make sure, and we did make some upgrades in spring by going to all e-learning. But for example, if there is a student at an elevated health risk, the apartment they're in would have good internet access, so they could continue their e-learning classes, hopefully without interruption. So that would be the goal.
Okay. One of the questions is, will this app or use of this app be required by the entire campus?
We're asking everybody to do it on a voluntary basis. So if somebody decides, for whatever reason, they don't want to do that, then it would be a more involved process, because what we don't want to have is somebody who says, well, I don't want to do this for X reason, but who may be at an elevated health risk. And so it will be mandatory at first if they want access to classrooms and cafeteria and wellness center, things like that. And so we obviously we'll look at that as we go, but the point is that we want to have a trusted community where people are not just looking out for themselves, but looking out for others. And frankly, a number of our faculty and staff are not as young as the students, fortunately, because of all their experience. And based on all the statistics we've seen, are at higher risk. And so we want to make sure that our faculty and staff are not exposed in an unnecessary way to a health risk that could be not be good for them. So yes, it will be mandatory starting off.
It looks like, this is an interesting one, and I think this might be for you, Tom. Is there an expectation that the app will improve over time, or will the first version be the final version?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. It absolutely will improve over time. The technology is proven. What will improve is constantly biometrics are getting better, more accurate, faster, easier. So we believe there's going to be more innovation in this area in the next 5 years than there has been in the last 50 years. So we know students love it. They've come of age during the era of biometrics. They use biometrics to lock their phone and talk to their digital assistant to play music or order things. And so it's a technology that everybody has and uses and loves. It is important to distinguish, this isn't a surveillance technology. This is an individual using the technology for their own purposes, when they want to, how they want to, and who they want. So I do want to mention that. The other thing is we are working, as we speak, integrating with the labs. So if AU in the future chooses to be able, or chooses to include rapid test results or verify that the COVID vaccine has been taken once it's available, those will all be options that will be in the near future. So it all depends on the availability of those capabilities with the labs and the vaccine producers, but you'll see a continued set of capabilities within the app that should serve and create a healthier environment for everybody.
I have a question that says, what will the academic calendar look like for the fall semester? And will there be an impact on the calendar based on this new technology?
Yeah, we've done a lot of assessment, and given that we have the #1 nursing school in the state of Indiana, some resident experts here who've looked at all the medical and scientific data, and there's what they've determined is there's a lot of different opinions as to whether starting early, starting late, compressing the semester schedule, does that have any impact on outcomes? And the general sense is that there's simply no way of knowing. And so our plan is to move forward with our regularly scheduled fall calendar, where classes will start at the end of August, and we'll still have basically a 4-day fall break later on. We also canceled our commencement and baccalaureate service, which was from May 9th. We took a survey of graduating seniors, and we did a virtual ceremony for them, but they would all, over 80%, want to have an in-person graduation commencement ceremony. And so we've decided to do that at the end of October as part of our homecoming activities. So not only combining the recent grads, but also all the alum who like to come in, and assuming there hasn't been a second wave and all that, we would do that then. So yeah, that's part of it. It is an iterative process of trying to take the latest medical scientific information and make sure that we're making informed decisions in conjunction with this great partnership with Daon. So we are planning to be full residential again in the fall.
That's terrific. President Pistol, will there be locations around campus where students can get their temperature checked?
Yeah, so in fact, we just had one of our generous donors just indicated yesterday that they would cover the cost of all the handheld temperature thermometers, basically, again, up against the forehead or close to the forehead. And so, yeah, we will have those stationed around campus at entry points to buildings. And we've also, for example, decided that we could make some single room opportunities available for residential students. And we had about 110 rooms that we could make available based on our current projections. In the first 72 hours after announcing that a few weeks ago, we had nearly that many, 105 or so, returning students express interest in those single room opportunities. And so that's part of it. And so some of the details we're still working out is, do you do the self-questionnaire in the morning, you have your temperature taken, and then do you do that at the return of the day, for example, when you go back to your dorm or apartment or whatever it may be. We haven't decided that yet. That's more of a policy issue, but given the Daon app and then these handheld temperature gauges, that's what we're looking at.
Great. As you know, President Pistol, we have a number of visitors that come to the Anderson University campus every day, from prospective students to vendors or suppliers. Will they be asked to use this app before coming on the premises? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so we're still working out some of those details, and we simply haven't addressed that one completely yet. They will need to go through some type of screening, and whether that's simply answering questions and then doing a temperature check manually, or I think it'd be our preference if they had the Daon app, and I think it just shows one of the ways that we at Anderson University, in partnership with an innovative company like Daon, are trying to be distinctive, compelling, and relevant, that we care about not just our residents here, but all those who visit, that we want to make sure they're safe and healthy, and they're not bringing something on the campus that we're trying to be vigilant about. And so we're still working through that, but that's, we'll look at those possibilities.
All right. Thank you. There seems to be a little bit of a theme here. Is the screening's mandatory, the use of the app voluntary? Can you sort of speak to what's voluntary, what's mandatory?
Yeah, so the screening will be mandatory in the sense of we need to have a high level of confidence that you are healthy. Again, if you're asymptomatic, that's not going to, a temperature gauge is not going to assess that. So we're going to strongly encourage the use of the Daon app because of its simplicity and expediency in terms of being able to facilitate that exchange of information that Tom talked about, which Daon is known for in terms of identity verification and management. And so that gives us the highest level of confidence. If for some reason somebody does not want to use that app, then we're working on, again, a manual process, which will slow it down for everybody, including the person who doesn't want to use the Daon app. So the whole purpose is to make it accessible, and so the facilities can be accessible on as normal a basis as can be possible while there's still a global pandemic that is still out there.
Thank you. One of the questions, I'm actually going to combine two questions here into one, and those are related to if a student has symptoms or showing symptoms, or have actually, if the student's been diagnosed with COVID-19, what does that mean? Obviously, we would restrict them from coming to campus or to classes. What does that mean for attendance? Do we hold that against them? What options do we have for the student that the health screening is not allowing them on campus?
Yeah, so it also depends on the health condition of the student and the severity of the symptoms. And many, we would think, would simply want to go home and recover at home. And if that's feasible, we would welcome that. And hopefully they would still be in a position to continue, if they wanted, with their classes through e-learning, just as we finish up the second semester. So that would be one option if they had the ability to go home. If not, again, we have a dedicated apartment building that is empty right now, been cleared out for any potential cases, that our health professionals in our health services unit and our nursing staff would be available to assist with, in addition to their principal, our primary care personnel. And then again, if they are interested and able to continue with their classes through the e-learning. And so they would not be isolated in the sense of being in virtual contact with all their friends, faculty, and staff and family. They just wouldn't physically be able to see them. They could look out the window and wave, as we see happen from time to time. So, yeah.
I think I'm going to toss the next question back to you, Tom. A number of people are asking if the app is available now, what the name of it is, and is it available to other colleges and universities?
Sure, it's great questions. And if I could just piggyback on a comment that President Pistol mentioned again, we invent technology that consumers can choose to adopt around the world. And if we invent technology that people don't like, people don't adopt it. And so part of elegance of what we try and do is make our technology very easy to use and available. And the experience we've had is they overwhelmingly prefer it compared to historical ways of doing things, whether they be paper-based or in other markets, long usernames and complex passwords. So the technology is designed to be very appealing to people, and that's exactly the same technology that we would bring to Anderson. And it's designed to be inclusive. One of our customers is USAA, and they're legendary for their focus on their membership. They have a higher customer satisfaction score than Apple. And they have age groups that they have people that use it that are over 90 and young and of all diversity and backgrounds. And so it's really important that we approach how we use these tools in a way that is proven and that people will like, because then, especially with students, they'll adopt it, and if not, they won't want to. And so kind of that, and then the second part of your question, could you just repeat that for me?
Yes, except I cleared it, so.
Oh, sorry.
I apologize. It's okay. We'll come back.
Can I use the app now? That was a question.
Oh, other schools, yes.
Yeah, so two parts to it. Thank you. One is they'll be able to use it soon. We're working on some final items. In terms of the questionnaire, we do want to go to authoritative sources, and that likely will be a combination of what the Anderson University nursing program picks. It may be built off of CDC or Indiana State Department of Health, but first off, we'll start with the best set of questions that the health experts feel. So that needs to be added, the capabilities there. And then, yes, we will make it available to other universities. And I think you'll see employers trying to create a safe work environment for employees. You mentioned Denver International Airport, trying to make their environment safer and healthier for travelers and for their workers and staff. So in the university setting, it will be made available to other universities. It's just that AU is leading the way right now.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I would just add, I shared this just without going into any detail or identifying the actual company because we wanted to wait on that, but shared it with the leaders of some other organizations. And of course, we at Anderson University are part of NCAA Division III, and the commissioner of our league I've just made him aware that there was going to be an announcement, and the head of the Independent Council or Colleges of Indiana and some others. So there's other opportunities that they can look at our pilot program, I think I would call it, Tom, just to say, is this, how's this working, and does this make sense to try to expand it to other groups or associations that can see the benefit of a program like this.
One of the questions was for at-risk faculty. I think you addressed that a little bit before, but what other measures is Anderson University taking to protect faculty or staff that might be at risk?
Yeah, so we're going through the process the last several weeks, and we'll continue through the summer of reconfiguring classrooms for appropriate social distancing. We are establishing ingress and egress points for each of our main academic buildings and wellness center. And so we're taking steps. In addition, we'll be issuing face masks for all personnel on campus, and of course appropriately branded for Anderson University. But we will take all those steps from a physical standpoint, and then what we believe is the value added is to have this partnership with Daon that gives us, again, that higher level of confidence, in addition to all the physical steps that we're taking and policies and protocols that we put in place. Then we'll have a program that can augment those policies and procedures. And so that's going on in addition to all the cleaning, enhanced cleaning that we'll be doing. And of course, in our marketplace, which is the name for our cafeteria, main cafeteria, moving away from the buffet line, the cruise ship approach, and really reimagining what does a residential campus look like? And so there's a lot of iterations of that. Those are some of the highlights.
Here's a question for you. As long as everyone's using the app, taking their daily temperature, will we still be able to host events on campus for the students, such as disco with donuts?
So no, Tom, that's one of our popular events here on campus, if you're not familiar with that, but yeah, that's not necessarily well known. Well, the hope is, yes, that we will be able to do that. And so the question is, how do we do that in the safest way, where people can still enjoy their time together and listen to some good old music and enjoy some good tasting unhealthy food. So there's a little bit of personal commentary there, but yeah, we're hoping. So for those of you who are familiar with Anderson University and our regular schedule, we have a twice a week chapel service in a 2,200 seat auditorium on campus. And we are modifying that because we simply can't host the 1,000+ students, faculty, and staff who would typically show up. And so we're looking at some variations on that, whether we do have a speaker come in, but then have the praise and worship music or whatever the music might be pre-recorded, so they're not there because of the medical information about singing and how that can also transmit if somebody is symptomatic, so or contagious, I should say. So yeah, a number of things, but we hope to be able to do a number of those things that we traditionally do.
Okay, I think the next question, perhaps you can answer it, and maybe we'll have to ask one of our health professionals, but how long must someone stay in isolation before they're allowed back on campus? And then in addition to that, some people have similar type of symptoms to COVID, such as cough, headache, maybe related to allergies. How are we going to determine those two things? So two-part question there.
Yeah, so, and I think I would do as I have found is the best thing to do when I get a question beyond my level of expertise. I see that's a great question, Senator. Let me get the details to that and I'll get back with you. But I would really need to defer to our healthcare professionals to say, so what are the criteria and at what point is that a tipping point to say, okay, we need to address that in a different way than simply this symptom or these two symptoms. So I will defer to our healthcare professionals on that.
All right, and then, well, President Pistol, looks like we have one last question, unless some others pop in. And how is this project being funded?
Well, a great question, and I want to thank Tom and Daon and all the folks there, because they're doing this as a pilot program at no cost to the university. In fact, helping us underwrite some of the expense of acquiring some of the tablets and things. And so, Tom, just a great sense of appreciation to you and your team for your willingness to do this at no cost to the university, other than all of our folks who are working on all the details, but as far as the actual out-of-pocket. So it is truly a great strategic partnership. And again, thank you, Tom.
President Pistol, if I may, it is a great partnership. And while we're making that gesture, we're also learning a lot from your professionals, healthcare professionals, and tailoring what we do to make sure it performs extremely well in a university environment. So it's a great collaboration together. Thank you.
All right. It looks like we have one last question. Tom, if you can just reiterate for us sort of the privacy protection. I know we talked about that earlier, but that question has come up again. Just how our information will be protected and how it's stored. If you could give us a little bit of additional information about that, that would be helpful.
Yeah, that's a really important question. We do consider any personal or biometric data to be private. We use the most advanced technologies to protect it. We follow the philosophy of privacy by design. In this case, the individual controls any of their biometric data. That's not under our control. It's in our app, but it's secured on their phone and their possession. And that is important. And the individual only holds the key to that. That's where it goes. And then they can choose to share their health credential with whom they want, when they want, and how they want. We have worked around the world, as I mentioned, and processed 10 million, well, over 10 million identity transactions each and every day. And we're held to very exacting standards by some of the most well-known brand name companies in the world. So I'd have great confidence that would protect it. And as I mentioned earlier, we're not storing any health data and we're not storing the biometric data in a server in the cloud. We're really processing transactions and sending back a wellness credential that the individual can keep on their phone.
That's great. That's great. So I think people are very excited about, and it sounds as if many people are ready to download the app right now.
Well, thank you, Heather. Yeah,
I don't have any other questions.
Okay, well, that's great. Well, Tom, let me again thank you and Daon for this partnership and for the opportunity to pilot this program that hopefully will be distinctive, compelling, and relevant to all of higher education and to other entities as you continue your pioneering work in identity management, authentication, and in biometrics. So let me thank you again for your time today, and look forward to welcome you to campus when that will work out. So take care. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.